There's the dream sequence in the original Twilight. The very first one, Bella is dying. She's the main character. The folks came into the studio and they're like, hey, there's this movie Twilight that we're working on. It's going to be the next, like, Harry Potter. And I'm like, I've never heard of Twilight. Yeah, I was working on a lot of title sequences, like Born Supremacy. So Kanye saw that in the theater one day and was like, oh, that type of stuff. I want that for my next show.
Old Kanye.
He had the lighting designers from Daft Punk. That show was the Glow in the Dark tour.
I don't understand how you transition from entertainment to crypto.
One of the guys who, when I was first learning 3D animations, was a guy named Beeple, and he's like a very popular digital artist now.
He sold his NFTs, right?
Yeah.
For what, over 50 million?
The really famous one in March of 2021 was 69 million. He basically had this ascent, and I wound up co-founding a company with him. And what we did was we saw NBA Top Shot. It was a really cool thing about like trading cards, but what if they were like time-based trading cards, so like LeBron's dunk.
Yeah, you could buy moments in the NBA.
You could buy moments in the NBA. That seems so narrow. What if you could just buy moments?
In life.
Period. In life. Like, imagine the Michael Jackson moonwalk. What if we could get the estate to like license it and you make 1,000 editions of the moonwalk and that's all there is? We are going to see a new wave of consumer crypto, and that's a really big reason why I think like putting my time there has been so rewarding.
If I'm a new crypto investor, where do I even start?
A lot of places you can start.
Figge is the creative force behind some of the most unforgettable visual experiences in pop culture and Web3. As co-founder of Possible Productions, he's crafted iconic live visuals for artists like Ariana Grande, Childish Gambino, Lady Gaga, and even halftime shows at the Super Bowl. Figge is now steering the creative vision at Yuga Labs, home to the Bored Ape Yacht Club and Otherside, pushing the boundaries of digital storytelling with Emmy-winning innovation. Figge!
What's up, man?
Mr. Figge.
How's it been?
How are you?
I'm good. I got a little sick over the weekend, so I got a little raspy voice right now, but I'm doing well, man. Everybody's happy and healthy.
It's been a episode in the making. We've been trying to get this on the books. I appreciate you coming out.
Yeah. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, man.
We're here.
Thank you, bro. We are here. You have, when I saw you like on my page, like with your profile, I was like, I know this guy. I know this guy from the past. And then I was like looking through your stuff, and there's definitely a lot of familiarity. And I think there's a lot of crossover between what we do. But your story is insane because you're not really in the video world like that I'm in. Like, I'm deep in the music video world. You're like in a whole different side of media, but it's very close to what I do. And that's kind of like your roots in live music, right? So I know you've had a trajectory from, I guess, CGI to live to now crypto, but I want to figure out like, where did you even start, man? Because you said you went to, we briefly talked before this. You said you have like formal education.
Yeah.
And then after that, you've kind of found your way through this industry. But like, where are the roots, man? Where did this all begin,
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, look, I think you're right. Like, we're in similar things, but like a lot of the things in this industry rhyme. Like a lot of creative stuff rhymes, right?
Mm.
And so formal education, I went to film school, but it was like a film studies school. It's at Santa Barbara.
It's always like that with the UCs, bro.
It is.
Was it UC Santa Barbara?
UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
And, I think that's something that's definitely like, you look at while you're in school and you're like, oh, I should be like out in the field making movies. I should be learning how to operate a camera. And I certainly was that guy, right? Like I was definitely antsy about it. But in retrospect, like here it is 2 decades later for me almost. I think getting that exposure to like theoretical cinema and a deep history of it, like I appreciate it as I grow older. Whereas, those cameras that I learned how to use 20 years ago, like they're not even around anymore. So I actually think that there is value to it, but maybe we get exposed to it too early. Like maybe we just need to like give kids cameras and like let them, and which is what's happening nowadays, right? Like maybe people just need to go make stuff. And then once they're like a decade in, you could be like, okay, cool. Now you can go like study what like all these other, like your mentors from history and what they do. Right? Cause like, yeah, the early United artists, they didn't like go to film school.
Right.
like Mary Pickford, Charlie Chaplin, T.W. Griffith, Douglas Fairbanks. They just had to figure it out. It was a new medium.
Mhm.
Yeah, so film school is where it started, and learned a lot of, like, critical theory and analysis there.
And what do you wanna do in film school? Did you wanna be a
I wanna
writer,
make
director?
movies.
Did you wanna be
I
a
wanna make
director
movies.
or
I don't think anybody really knows enough about the film industry to know with conviction. I think everybody says they wanna be a director, they wanna be a writer, something like that.
Mhm,
But the nuance of each job and how that comes together, like, there's a ton of jobs you don't even learn about in film school, but yeah.
mhm,
I mean, the thing that I would do the most was direct. Like, that's what I was doing even before film school, right? Like, in high school and stuff, I would do things with my friends, and actually, like, years later, those are the same friends that I founded a company with. So,
mm. Cool.
go way back. Yeah,
Nice, dude.
yeah.
I love that.
But got out of film school or there's a couple of interests that, like, I think when you're early on in your career, you find a couple of things that you might be interested. What were, like, things that were super early? Like, for me, it was, like, animation. I really like stop motion, stuff like
Mm.
that. Was there anything that, like, jumped out at you that you were like,
I I have, like, weird little things that jumped out at me when I was a kid. Um, for starters, you know, I actually talked about this with my fiancée recently. She's like, what's like a piece of literature or film that, like, you remember that kind of had an impact on you?"
mm,
And the first piece of media or the first film that ever had an impact on me was The Mummy. You remember The Mummy, the
yeah,
first one where, like,
yeah,
they
yeah,
got
yeah.
sucked up in the tornado and
Scarabs. Yeah,
they, like, disappeared?
yeah.
That gave me my first existential crisis at a young age, and that had
You thought
such
it was so real?
I thought it was real, and then
Oh.
I literally that night, I'm like, "Mom, what happens when we die?"
Oh, yeah,
And
okay.
that existential crisis was so powerful that, like, it not only freaked me out, it made me wanna be a filmmaker.
No, that's good.
That wasn't
So
my
some visual effect, like something well,
visual
it
effects were
wasn't even the visual effects, it was like the what happens after you die,
Yeah, yeah. I
right?
mean,
Like the story.
the story. The
Yeah,
visual effects contributed. Like, another
right.
thing that really stuck with me was Star Wars, and I remember there's a lot of animation in the Star Wars film, and when I was watching Star Wars at that age, I wanted to learn how to, like, animate lightsabers,
Right.
and so that sparked an interest of me learning. There was a tool, it was called, like, Effects something. It was like After Effects, but it was, like, it was cheaper and simpler.
Sure.
Actually, I think I ripped it anyways, but, um I taught myself how to do it, so I would make these, like, lightsaber videos,
Yeah.
and that really was, like, my
But
first
there'd be people this is before YouTube even, like, people would be, like, doing a lightsaber video, and you'd be like, "How are they doing?" And then you learn about, like, rotoscoping.
Yes.
Like,
There were
"Oh, okay,
no
rotos."
tutorials
Yeah, yeah, no, there's
at that
nothing. But
nothing.
you see people pull something off, and you're like, "How did you do that?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, I'm rotoscoping this wooden rod, and I'm, like,
Yeah.
making it glow."
Yeah.
You're like, "Wait, you're doing that frame by frame?" It's like, "Yeah, that's how people do it."
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember yeah, exactly. There was dude, it was so hard, like, for people who are using technology, like, all the technology we have today,
Yeah,
it's
it's amazing.
insane how much how
Yeah,
far we've come, you know?
it is.
And you can speak on that 'cause you have a lot of CGI experience.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's kind of the thing, like, when I was, like, excited to use cameras in film school, it was like, back in the day, it was, like, HVX 200, so it's like, these things are
Oh
just
my
starting to
gosh.
make, like, HD, like, it's the quality is not really that good,
No.
and I was probably, like, the last group of people that was like, "Okay, if you're going to film school, you have to learn it on film." Which
Mm.
everybody was like, "Ugh, why are we learning on film? Because it's, like, so
Wow.
expensive." Like, we would shoot on 16, so, like, 16 millimeters, 100 foot, it's, like, 2.5 minutes, and to go get that developed is, like, $100, and you're, like, trying to put money together to, like, eat pizza at Costco, right? Like,
Mhm.
$100 for 2.5 minutes, but, like, you really the temperament of everybody on, like, even like, if there's just, like, 2 people on a set, the temperament's completely different because before you press go on the camera, like, "Okay, is the lighting really good? Did you rehearse really good? Because like, this is gonna cost us a lot of money
Yeah.
to run this take." And so
Right.
that pressure, that seriousness, I think is really good, and I think
Yeah.
that's the benefit of
For
one of the many
sure,
benefits of shooting on
dude.
film, like, people take it a little more seriously. Um, but yeah, the cameras nowadays, like, you can get the iPhone in your pocket could shoot a pretty great movie if you put enough effort into it, so it's we've come a long way, and I think it takes you back to, like, story and stuff, but, something you said about like rewinding in your memory, going back in time to like what was your early inspiration. Like I didn't actually like. Did your parents take you to the movies when you were growing up?
They did sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. Yeah.
My parents didn't really, not that often, but I remember seeing like Jurassic Park when I was a
Mhm.
kid, and
Cool.
that was mine. Where I was like, whoa, like scared the Velociraptor would be like in our house in the dark or something like that. Like that type of visual effect led to a deep suspension of disbelief. It almost like you conflate that with like better storytelling.
Mm.
And so I think that's part of what led me into visual effects to begin with. It's
Ah.
just like the ability to like, wow, the movies where you can suspend people's disbelief is because they do this one thing.
Mm.
And you can't just like roll a camera and capture it. Like it has to make it feel like you did, but
Mm.
there's a lot of work that went into it.
That's cool. That's a cool memory to have.
Yeah,
It's a core memory.
core memory.
Okay, so you jumped from, you're in film school, and then you're now immersed in like a CGI world, right? But how do you get to that? How do you get to that next chapter? I guess that's the start of your career, right?
Yeah, come out of film school, and like one of the really important things they tell you there, and I hope they still tell people, is just like, man, do not have an ego when you get to LA if you're going to LA.
Right.
I think at the time there were a lot of like behind the scenes DVDs showing like directors and how they were like yelling at people on set, and sort of like a lot of stuff you'd see with like a chef in a kitchen. Like if you're not micromanaging and shouting at people, like you're doing a bad job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when you come to LA, like people were just like, just be ready to like do any job, like learn and come in with like some level of humility. And so like I applied to a lot of places and had done a couple of things in school. So when I was applying, I wasn't applying empty. Like I had a
Mm-hmm.
couple things to show, and I got an entry level job at a really cool shop that was doing like very short visual effects before movies, like main title sequences and stuff like that.
Sick.
Yeah.
What was the company?
It's called Pick. It's really cool. There's a couple of great people that were running it. They got me a lot of like good opportunities to work on stuff that, a year outside of film school, you could see stuff that you made in a cinema. That's like really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, on like big movies. And part of that was like, they were in a niche. So like they did a lot of dream sequences, motion title sequences. So a lot of After Effects, that kind of stuff. And I'd have to pick a lot of that up. But even while I was there, I was like, oh, I could clearly tell like, if you really want to get good at this stuff, you need to learn like 3D animation. You need to like learn the new tools.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, eventually that's what I wanted to do next. But sometimes when you're working all the time, it's hard to like figure out where to go next because
Yeah.
you're so busy working that you can't step away
Yeah.
from it to like upskill, right?
You never know. I mean, that's the thing. We're so caught up in our work, and we're
Yeah,
like, when you get stuck in your work, like you said, it's hard to know how to take that next jump, right?
totally. And to this day, like, I mean, I'm talking about like a problem from 18 years ago, right? But like, I still think I look around at AI and I'm like, cool, gotta go learn different aspects of that and fold that into whatever I'm going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you always have to balance that against like the current responsibilities you have, which is like something that everybody I think has to get used to throughout their career, right? Like, how do you balance that out? I mean, you're making this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. There is no balance. There really is no balance. Like I have accepted that my life is completely not balanced, and hopefully soon it will be. I always tell myself that.
Yeah.
I think the only way to create balance is to delegate and hire, in my opinion,
Sure.
at a certain level.
But also, like, you don't find time. You have to make time.
You have to make time.
You
Yes.
have to want to do
Yeah,
it.
but when you make time from something, you take it away from something else.
Yeah.
Unless, like I said, you delegate. That's the only way you basically have to buy your time back, is what I learned.
Right.
But if you're like in a company like you were at that time, and
Yeah.
you're employed by someone, and you
Yeah.
want to figure out how to make time to learn new skills or take that next step, I understand. You just have to wake up at 4 a.m. You have to,
You do.
you have to, or just stay up really late, right?
You do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was for a long time. And they were working on a lot of movies. They were growing really fast. So this is a story you see around town a lot. Like hot new studio grows really fast, gets exposed to a lot of stuff. But one of the things that they were working on or got approached by was like these live events, and people who wanted cinematic things in live events. And that's kind of how I fell into that world.
Mm.
I started like really getting into like what does content look like in arena tours and stadium tours, and that wasn't a world I was really, like, aware of before or cognizant of. I was just, like, happy to be making stuff that was making it into movies, like, so recently out of film school.
Mhm. Yeah. And so that company made you basically like, they didn't force you to learn After Effects, but you wanted to take it to the next level?
Oh, yeah, I don't think any of these companies are gonna force you to do anything.
Well, it depends on your role too, right? Like, what was your
Yeah.
role, you know?
I mean, when I first started, like, I was a PA, like, I was just,
Nuts.
like, whatever the office needs,
Mhm.
but that's when you have to kind of, like, if you want to be more than a PA, you gotta get curious, you have to be like, "Cool, like, I see everybody here is using After Effects, I should probably really know," and at the time, I knew enough um, to be helpful with it,
Mhm.
but it's actually when you go from, like, "Hey, I think I know how to do that thing that there's, like, deliverables here that the company's making, I think I know how to do those things," and then people are like, "Give it a shot, sport," like, "Get on the box and try to
Yeah.
do it," and so, and then once you start being able to do it, you start looking less valuable as a PA and more valuable as something else to the company, right?
Yeah, I think, the one of the most amazing things I was told from an old mentor of mine was find ways to create value.
Right.
Create value for whoever you're with, your employer, your,
Yeah.
whoever's in your circle, and, if you create value, they'll never want you to go. They're always gonna want you there, and
Yeah.
they'll bring you closer, and I think for anybody who wants to elevate their career, especially in entertainment, it's creating value for those in your close circle. So if you're like an assistant or a PA,
Yeah.
you wanna wait for that right opportunity so you can jump in. You gotta be prepared
That's
for it.
100%, like, there's no studio that's gonna ask you like, they're not gonna tell you what you need to the solution needs to come from you, right? Like, there's
Mhm.
no studio that's gonna be like, "Hey, this is the path that you need to take." Like, you need to write that path and go learn those skills and make it happen.
Yeah. One of the first big opportunities I got was because I stepped up to the plate
Yeah,
to edit a music video, and
right.
I was like, "Dude, I could do it. I got the skills. I
Yeah,
got the chops. Put me in, coach." You know?
yeah.
And that was very, life-changing, and it allowed for other opportunities to grow from that. So, for anybody who is if you're an assistant or if you're at a level like an entry level position at any job or especially a creative career, I think it's important to know that be prepared, sharpen your skill set, and when you see an opportunity, go for it. That's how a lot of producers become producers, like movie producers. They start off as assistants, they'll be assistant to a producer, then the producer will work on a new film, and then they need help with producing. Guess who's their producing partner?
Yeah,
Their assistant.
yeah.
And then that is a big credit for their resume or for their resume, and then they produce more films together, and that's how it works a lot of times. But back to you, right? You're in the CGI world, you're working on a bunch of movies, working on cool projects. You're so young still, right? You have a transition and by the way, can you tell me some of the movies you worked on?
Yeah, so, like, you'd really have to watch them, but, the there's the dream sequence in the original Twilight. The
Oh,
very first one, Bella's dying, she's the main character. At the time, like, the folks came into the studio and they're like, "Hey, there's this movie Twilight that we're working on. It's gonna be the next, like, Harry Potter." And I'm like, "I've never heard of Twilight." So, like, that'll happen a lot throughout your career where you're like, "Oh, there's this new thing and I've never heard of it and it's gonna be huge."
mhm.
But there were a lot of things that we needed to, like, touch up. So in particular, like, there's a sequence where she's dying at the end of the movie, and she's, like, seeing things, it's hallucinating through all that stuff, so, like, that whole sequence is something that we made at that studio,
That's so
and there's
neat,
even,
so
like
niche.
it's very niche,
Like
and, like, there's
dream
even
sequences,
the
like
dream sequence, well, there's even, like, flash frames where I put, like I was living in Burbank at the time, and I put a bunch of blood on my roommate, and I, like, photographed him and put them in flash frames, and it made it to the movie.
what?
But it's like, you can do that type of stuff if, like as long as it makes sense for the story, because I really cared about, like, every frame that I was putting into this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of I worked on, like, the title sequence for Sex and the City, which is, like that's kind of a funny thing to do too, because you
Classic.
have to, like, go into I remember we needed to round up a bunch of, like, stuff to photograph. So, like, you just call up, like, all the stores on Rodeo Drive, and you're like, "Hey, I'm doing a thing for Sex and the City," and they're like, "Take anything you want."
Mm.
And so I was driving, like, a Honda Civic at the time. I had, like, more stuff than the entire car was worth in the car, right? Driving around.
Wow.
But, yeah, I was working on a lot of title sequences, and then, one of the things that we worked on was, like, one of the Bourne series, like Bourne Supremacy,
Mhm.
and, so Kanye saw that in the theater one day and was like, "Oh, that type of stuff, I want that for my next show." And we are like, "What does that mean?" So that, his team called the studio, and then they came through and they were talking about it. So now there's, like, language for this stuff. It's called, like, future user interface. It's like when you see Iron Man and, like, he's in his helmet, there's all these, like, holograms that are floating around. There wasn't really, like, terminology for that back then because, like, Marvel hadn't, like, developed all of that cinematic vocabulary. But it was more like, how can you show things that are a mix of motion graphics and cinema put together? And so if you add audio reactivity to that, that's like that stuff goes into concerts. And I think also another thing is, like, content for concerts wasn't really a thing yet.
Back then they didn't have, like, LED walls or anything?
Didn't have LED wall, like, it was just starting. So, like, you would go
Mm.
into if you go to Times Square, you see all these, like, LED walls, but they're architectural. They're built into the building, and they're not meant to be torn down and put in a truck and toured. And right around that period is when LED was first starting to be like, and you click them together like Legos. They're like panels, and you click them together, and they make a grid, and you could say, like, "This is what I want. I want you to put my movie on the grid." So you can make something that's like IMAX size, and you just run
Different
something through.
LEDs, that's crazy.
Yeah, you could, because they're clickable together like Legos.
Yeah.
But all of the little pieces to get that to work, where you, like, take an LED panel, you put it in a road case, the road case goes in a like, all of those connector pieces to make it commercially viable was just starting right around then.
Still a big, big endeavor.
Big endeavor. I mean, people had done, like, projections and stuff, but it wasn't like, now if you go to shows, it's almost an expectation that, like, you have to have a giant,
Yeah.
giant LED wall. Otherwise, you're not really competitive
Yeah.
from a photography standpoint. Like, everybody wants to photograph you on your stage, and there has to look like a lot of production behind it.
Mhm.
And, like, giant cinematic screens is one way to do that. And of course, like, it's not just that. You have to complement it with everything else from stage.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, additional lights. There could be pyro, there could be smoke
Oh, yeah.
or whatever, dance.
Lots of stuff.
I was just at Coachella.
Yeah.
And I saw a bunch of artists there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking every single person has an LED wall.
Yep.
Like, without any, there's no choice now.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of screens there. It's a standard for them to be asked, what do you want to put as your content on these screens?
Yep.
And another thing I noticed while I was there was, like, when people are filming you on stage, they're not really filming you. They're filming your stage. Like, you're kind of like a tiny speck in there.
Yeah.
So a lot of the videos you'll see on TikTok or on Instagram that people are posting of Coachella, or, like, you can't even really see the artist, but you'll see their face on the LED screen.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
damn, it's so weird how now you go to a live concert, and even for someone like me, like, I wasn't up front and center for every artist, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I was kind of just chilling, like, in the back, and I wasn't even really looking at the artist on stage. I was kind of just looking at the monitor. But I'm like, this is so weird. Like, isn't this just me, like, watching a live stream, basically?
Yeah, I mean,
know?
that's one of the things, like, if we go back to, like, the film theory and analysis, like, I would have professors write about, like, big screen, like, big TV-isms, like, you'd go to a sports game and you would actually find more people watching, like, the broadcast of the sports game than the actual game itself if you, like, track eyes and stuff. 100%. That's how those shows work, though. Like, if you don't show up with that production value, and I think, like, the live event world sees it as production value, but, like, I think from a filmmaking background, you could see it more as, like, a very flexible film canvas. But I also think, like, people that come in from film might mistranslate it. They might think, like, it is only a cinema screen, but it actually has to work more architecturally. It's almost like, instead of making a bunch of scenic pieces like you would see in a Broadway show, like, you could do that digitally. Like, you're trying to make a whole composition. It's like a live music
I
video,
see.
right? Like,
I
you're trying
see.
to build the stage for them.
Yeah, I see. That makes sense. That makes sense. And so going back to the whole thing, so old Kanye West, not new Kanye, old
Old
Kanye,
Kanye. Yeah.
he saw you do
Yeah, so we worked on a movie that he liked, and then he
Yes.
was like, "Why don't you work on a show that we're gonna do?"
so he saw so
Yeah.
just to clarify, your company worked on Born Supremacy.
Yep.
And was it a title sequence or something?
Yep.
So old Kanye saw the title sequence for Born
Yeah.
Supremacy, and then he reached out to you guys?
Team, but
He reached
yeah.
out to your team.
But he came into the studio, and
Got it.
we talked about, you know, what it was gonna be, and he had the lighting designers from Daft Punk and, production designer too that was very like, her name's Ez Devlin, she's very good, and, we basically talked through the show, what it was gonna be, and, that show was the Glow in the Dark tour. It was like 2008, so right after graduation.
Oh, it's iconic. And that's when he was doing the Daft Punk collabs, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and, I mean, this was like I was a kid, I was starting out, and so I was learning a lot of, like, live event stuff, and, everybody at the studio was like, "We don't know what this is, and we're working on movies. Like, why don't we send Figge?" Because he's like he's young and he could throw his whole day at it. And so I went to the Forum because they were doing rehearsals at the Forum, and, you know, I had no notion of, like, how concerts got made before that. Like, I would go to them, but everything would be built. And here to see it in fragments and pieces, it's kind of like going to a film set that's, like, under construction,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know how it's all gonna come together. And in this particular instance, like, there's a lot of technology that was trying to be integrated into the show. And whenever you have a lot of different pieces like that, a lot of concerts, they run on something called time code, which is basically like the person running the Pro Tools track will have a silent track, and it sounds very digital, like a dial-up modem almost. But it sends cues to everybody else's consoles so that, like, yeah, if you press this button or if this beat hits, like, everything can stay in sync. So lighting, video, you know, pyro, anything can stay in sync, fireworks. Part of this is, like, nobody had tried to, like, put this much stuff together, or, like, it's very rare that this much technology gets put together on a show, so you spend a lot of time in tech kind of putting it together.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know how any of it worked, so I had to, like, wind up reading a bunch of manuals and really figuring out, like, how do you connect all of this stuff? And I just wound up, like, living at the Forum for, like, a bunch of those days, just really afraid that I was gonna lose my job, you know, because I was the person tasked with it. But once you and this is something that I've learned a lot in life, like, you should just read all the manuals for the stuff, you could learn it and then piece it together, and now, like, that investment you could take with you forever, that education you could take with you forever. So, yeah, start off, like, pretty technical, like, how can we just get, like, the screen to turn on? But I think there's a saying in film where, like, the projectionist gets final cut, right?
Yeah. So how did this I'm so confused. They hired a film title sequence and dream sequence company to do a live show, or just to create the content for the live show?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it, like, who do you even go to for that? If you, like, put yourself in
Yeah, it didn't.
in their shoes,
There's
it's
nothing
like
that existed back
it
then.
doesn't exist, so, like, it usually manifests in, like, you go to editorial house or a visual effects company, but, you know, editorial houses are built to do commercial spots. Visual effects house companies are, like, set up to do shots on a feature, and there's no workflow that's adapted for, like, "Okay, cool, we're dialing it in an arena."
It's such a new technology. So you like found this cool little opportunity that was brand new, and I mean, Kanye was one of the people who pioneered it then, huh?
Yeah, there were a bunch at that, like, you have to get to that altitude, and it's everybody in that kind of, like, altitude uses the same kinds of tools and wants to do that kind of competitive thing.
Like the big artists, you're saying.
Really big artists get access to that type of stuff.
2008 was like who? Kanye.
Yeah, so after
yeah.
you know, my next thing that I worked on after that was Lady Gaga,
Oh,
and that was right, Just Dance, like, all of that stuff, so it was a very big year for her, and that was a breakout moment. And so
sick.
working on all of those things, it was like the same problem. You didn't even realize it. It's like, oh, we need to hook up, like, cinema screens, and they need to talk and be in sync with the lights that are happening. So, like, making sure that one idea can move through multiple fixtures at the same time. So it starts off really technical, but after you do that pattern a couple of times, you're like, wait a minute, like I see what people are trying to do, and I think there's more creative things we could be doing with these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was doing stuff at that shop for a while. I stopped to learn like 3D animation. And at the time, there wasn't really like YouTube was just starting. So there wasn't a lot of tutorials. So you would actually have to like reach out. And if you like somebody else's stuff, you would like start corresponding with them to like learn from them or hire them. And so there was a few relationships I made at that point that were very long-term relationships, like other people trying to learn similar things, and you kind of grow up with them. It would be odd jobs. It wasn't just the Kanye stuff. I actually wound up doing stuff with that group for 4 years. So it was like 13 different Kanye things.
Wow.
And then there was like, yeah, Lady Gaga, but there was also, I dipped into the world of theme parks, which is again another strange canvas type environment. So like theme parks, they also need content,
Mm,
and it is live events. So I worked on the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, for instance, and it's like, what are we doing here? We're projection mapping Hogwarts, and we're
let's
like,
go.
we're I worked on the National World War II Museum, and that was like a multi-plane installation in New Orleans. So like this is one thing I didn't know. New Orleans, like a lot of the D-Day boats were built in New Orleans.
What?
Yeah, like if you think about the D-Day boats, they have to be like a certain construction and shallow, right? Like
Mhm.
they can't have a deep, I don't know the right words for it, but like the hull can't go that deep in the water
I see.
because of all the things when you're storming a beach. So a lot of that stuff was made in New Orleans, and the guy who made a lot of those ships, he wound up taking that money and like as a respect to the soldiers, he made like the National World War II Museum in New
Sick.
Orleans. So if you're like ever in New Orleans and you're like, why is there a National World War II Museum here? That's what it
That's
is.
why. I'm gonna
And
go in 2 weeks, by the way.
do it, man. It's
I'm
really
literally
worth
actually
seeing.
gonna be there, so
Yeah.
I'll go to
It's
the
I think the show I worked on is still there.
No.
And that's the crazy thing about working on these like theme parks and stuff. You really put stuff together that endures, like when you work on a commercial spot, it like has its moment in the sun,
Mhm.
and then like recency is gone
Yeah, it becomes very obsolete very fast.
very fast.
Yeah, your
Whereas
work
like
is
theme stuff at theme parks, like it can continuously get visited, and tours, like they go around. So tours do have a shelf life too, because
Yeah,
like they stop touring.
but at least it's not just one day or, it's
Exactly.
like months or years. If
Yeah.
you're Taylor Swift, you're
Yeah.
touring for years, you know?
Yeah.
You did, you said you did the Wizarding World. It was the Harry Potter,
Yeah.
when Harry Potter or they added the Harry Potter theme park to Universal, right?
Yeah, to Universal, which is connected to Islands of
It
Adventure
it was
in,
the Florida one,
Florida. Yep.
and you said that something really crazy. Who showed up to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, so I was working on the opening for the park,
Yeah.
and this is one of those things where they wanna make a big splash. It's the first time ever that, Harry Potter's come to the United States. So, John Williams was conducting live. J.K. Rowling was there too,
It's amazing.
and it was just crazy to see John Williams conducting live in front of Hogwarts, the theme that he wrote for,
Yeah.
it's very iconic. But yeah, we would make it look like Dementors and dragons were flying around Hogwarts and doing all the kinds of like magic tricks you would want to
That's
see,
so
that type
cool.
of thing. So again, it's like it's using the same tools, After Effects, outputting quick times and doing all that, but like for a different setting that wasn't necessarily a silver screen.
Mhm. And how did this lead to the next jump in your career then? Because I know at one point you created your own company called Possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was I was going around working on a lot of things as a freelancer, basically. And because there wasn't any shop that specialized in this stuff, I would work at an editorial house or a visual effects house or a motion graphics house. None of them really knew how to reinvest in that. So they would get this big account, this big job, and then they would pay people to work on it. But they didn't know how to, like, part of a company is like you reinvest in to the thing so that you can get better at that thing. But when you are an editorial house or a visual effects house, like it's hard to grok, especially a new thing like live events. How do you invest in that? You need to experience the pain points of it. For me, it was like I was still packing my computer into my Honda Civic, years later, carrying it from place to place. I was very laboriously like setting this stuff up at arenas, and I'm like, I just feel like I should have like a road case with all this stuff set up, but that costs money. And so these kind of like realizations of like, I bet I could just do these jobs at the same prices, but like just aggressively reinvest back into the process and make a company that specializes in like live event stuff,
Mm.
live event cinematic content.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, in 2010, I founded a company with some of the same people that I, grew up with this stuff with. And we founded a company called Possible. And Possible's still around to this day. It's probably the best when it comes to like cinematic live content. Got an office in LA, New York. We do a lot of stuff in Riyadh right now, but we've been all over the world. And our whole studio is in road cases, basically. So you could pack it all up and pop it up anywhere around the world. And so that's kind of how I first moved over. I just was taking the work that I was already doing, and instead of like trying to shepherd it at the places I was working at, I just started doing it with my friends. And it's really hard to get going, but once you get going, I think it's really rewarding.
So you found this is awesome. You found an opportunity because nobody else was doing this. It was such a new thing.
Yep.
Live visuals for
Yep.
touring and music. It was just starting to bubble up, especially with the A-list artists. And you said, you know what? I can do this myself because now I'm skilled not only in the creation of these graphics, but in the execution of it on
Yeah.
the stage, right? So you married those two worlds together. You founded a company with your friends. You tapped into a really, really specific niche at the time.
Yep.
Right. And because you're one of the first to do it, you became one of the best to do it.
Well, you
right?
could see there's demand too.
And there's demand because it was just starting, right?
It was just starting, and you're like getting booked up a lot, and you're
Yeah.
like trying to give these gigs out and can't give them out fast enough.
Right. So let me ask you this. How can someone determine what niche is right for them, right? Like today,
Yeah.
right? If someone's starting out, or let's say someone's been in the game for a long time and they feel like maybe they're not, as their career's not as lucrative as it used to be, how do they pivot and how do they find a niche like you did,
I think you have to look across kind of disciplines sometimes. Just because the discipline that you have right now, and it depends what you actually want to get done too. Like if
Mhm.
it's really meaningful for you, if you want to be making commercials or music videos, like that's what you should be doing. But when it comes to like if a priority for you is like growing a business or something like that, there's probably people who need like that type of service, like that type of cultural eye that you could bring to, a spot or a music video, but applied to some other business. And that they're willing to pay way more if you're actually able to convert, the thing that matters. Right now, like a lot of us look at our portfolios and we're like, oh, this looks really good in my portfolio. This looks really good. And it's like, well, aside from that looking like really good art, like what did you achieve in terms of like business?
Yeah.
Like were you able to convert? And I think, for music videos, it's like impressions, it's like
Views.
like
Yeah.
how viral did it go? Like
Right.
is everybody talking about it? And so like that's the means to the end. But like media is very powerful. It can do more than just views. It could persuade people to change their minds about things. So there's a lot of that kind of like looking in adjacent fields and seeing what's going on. And that's why I say like a lot of creativity rhymes, right? Like it's not just, maybe you're working in one thing now, but keep your eyes open to like adjacent fields and see what's popping up.
How do I find an adjacent field? Do I now just scroll and see what people are doing?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think also like chasing after things it depends what you're chasing after. Like if you're chasing after money, I found that to be very hard to do.
Never gets you anywhere.
Never gets you anywhere.
In the long
to be
run.
money led. Yeah, you have to. Don't you find like I find the most success when I'm led by passion.
Yeah.
Like when I'm really like curious about it, I think about 24/7. The money figures itself out.
Mm-hmm. It does.
So I would just encourage people to chase what they're curious about. Because somewhere in there, your skill set's going to be really relatable. It's going to be like very valuable.
Yeah, I think what you said is spot on. Chase what you're curious about. And I think you kind of are a perfect example of, of doing that. You had a job lined up, you were working at a job, and that job, your experiences at that job sparked your curiosities in live shows, and you basically took time while you were still had a good, financial backbone, you were able to then spend a little bit of time to learn this new thing, and then you took the leap of faith to do it
Yeah.
yourself, right? And I think that's something for a lot of people just breaking into the field. It's like, how do I find my passion? How do I make time for it? And it's
Yeah,
like,
now that you say that, like, something that made it more real for me is, like, in that first job, and it's funny that we're talking so much about this first job because it's so long
I
ago and I
know,
don't even recall it,
it's your
but, like,
foundation.
it's your foundation, but, like, I had saved up enough to be, like, maybe 2 months out of work. That's it. Like,
Okay, you had
I just,
two.
like I had not that much saved up, but I took it very seriously. Like, I was like, "I'm gonna learn 3D animation." And, like, boom, day 1 of not having a job, it's like I'm doing 16 hours at the computer and I am learning. And I would
Mm,
do that, like, every single day, and, like, you do that for 2 or 3 weeks at almost anything, you'll get pretty good. You'll get competent very quickly.
yeah,
And I've done that process many times throughout my career now where you just are like, "I gotta get good at this really fast." And, I guess I say that number out loud just in case anybody's listening, like, as long as you take yourself very seriously, if you save up and you wanna, like, upskill, like, you can do it, but, it's not necessarily that you need to take a year off or anything like that. Maybe you just need to take 30 days off, upskill, and then come back on market with
yeah.
new skills.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with me in this podcast. Like, I took the skills from being a video director, and
Yeah,
I just was like, I should do something for myself for once.
for
Let me
sure.
just
Yeah.
build this out, shoot it all cool, edit it nicely, and see where it goes. And like you said, I had a lot of 12, 14, 16-hour days that just compounded. Now I can run a podcast. If you ask me to help you with it, I would know exactly what to do. And
Right,
it's just
yeah.
like, whereas if you asked me in December, I
Yeah.
would have had no clue.
It's all the details too. It's like, okay, recorded it, then edit it, then how do I get it up on
Yeah, all the
all these
platforms, and
platforms,
yeah, it's a
and
whole,
then what happens after that over the life of the thing. So,
yeah.
yeah, you learn by doing, so I think as long as you're not afraid of feeling like a novice at something,
Mhm.
I think that's a very helpful life skill, like,
Yeah.
to be comfortable becoming a novice at something.
They say, in order to take one step forward, you gotta take two steps back. But if
Yeah.
you're willing to, like you said, learn new skills, become
Yeah.
a novice, and develop yourself, you're always gonna push forward. And I think for anybody in any field, especially today with AI and all the crazy shit happening,
Yep.
you have to be willing to learn new skills.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna get left behind,
Yeah.
especially today.
Yep.
You know? And,
Yep.
yeah, you've done so many impressive things, man. Like, I was just looking at some of the people you work with. You work with, Bieber, like you said, Lady Gaga, Ariana Grande. I wanna talk about those experiences, man. Like, navigate me through the world. You talked about Gaga, right? How collaborative was Lady Gaga with you?
She's great. So, I guess I'll paint the entire decade as simply as I can because it's from, like, 2010 to 2020, I was doing a lot of concerts. I mean, I have invested heavily to have a pipeline so that I could accommodate a lot of that stuff. So I've done probably over 200 arena and stadium tours, like, a lot. I mean, if you
200 stadium tours. So
tours,
not
yeah.
like concerts, like, it's
Yeah,
had to have
like
been
tours,
thousands of
yeah.
dates.
Yeah, and well, maybe flexible with that, like, some of them were, like, big television events, a lot of award shows,
Yeah.
but yeah, many, many, many shows, and that comes out to roughly, like, if you just do it evenly, it's like 20 a year, right? So you're working on
It's a lot, dude.
more than one a month,
Yeah, more than one a
a
month.
lot of overlap. But yeah, like, you hear what was I don't know the exact statistic, but it was like in World War II, we were making like a B-52 every like 63 minutes or something like that. Like, you can pipeline things to a point, and now, like, what Elon's making like a Starship every week is his goal.
Mhm.
It's crazy. Like, build a spaceship every week. So you can kind of build these goals. Anyway, yeah, 200 or so of that type of thing, and you work with a lot of very big musicians, a lot of very big television producers, and yeah, like Lady Gaga got to work with her really early on, but also even as late as like I worked on with Chromatica, and that was before I made the shift to crypto. So like I was working with her up until the end, and she's really great. Has a pretty is incredibly talented, has a clear vision of what she wants. I remember there's like worked on her residency at Park MGM. That's another thing. Residencies are like cool Vegas residencies.
Yeah, they're so long term.
They're so long term, and she had such a great vision for that, and a really great designer named Roy Bennett brought me in on that one.
Mm.
And she had a very specific vision for what she wanted for something. And it's easy for anybody to give feedback, like, oh, here's my opinion on this thing. Anybody in the world could give you feedback on anything. But when it's somebody like that, and then she like suits up into a disco ball and like flies over a crowd and is singing like her, dozens of number one songs, you're like, okay, well, like it's a very like calibrated opinion. Like you feel compelled to give her what she wants,
What did Gaga say that you couldn't believe that was like what was one brilliant thing that Gaga told you about
I
to
think
do
that
on the tour
I
or
think
to do for her residency, right?
for a residency, yeah, one of the things is like really making sure, and this is like all great artists see this, is like it's not just about any one department, it's about all of it together. And she was very mindful of her band. And so we had all of these like really cool, effects and graphics and lighting and all of the stuff up there. But she really also wanted to make sure her band was highlighted too, and that people didn't lose track of like, the people who were making all of that. And I think like that's something that's really important to people who are like really artists, right? Like that's these are the people who got them there, and you need to feature them
That's
in the same
awesome.
kind of like, it's not just about her, it's about the whole ensemble. And there's a lot of, you're just saying about the Coachella thing, like people are all taking their phones up, like towards the end of it, it was getting, I mean, it's very sophisticated now. Like even when lights are being dialed in and LED levels are being dialed in, we actually put iPhones around the like tech arenas, and we expose to the iPhones like dynamic range. So not everybody does that, but
That's
like if
so
you actually,
awesome.
one of the real goals at Possible is so
Just for people who don't know real quick, before we talk about your goals at Possible,
yeah,
what you're saying is really amazing because you're essentially creating a live experience so that whoever pulls out their iPhone in the crowd will be able to film it and it'll look perfect. Because sometimes we go to concerts and you try to film, it's like super blown out or
exactly.
super dark. But for you, you're exposing it, you're exposing the lights so that anybody who films from wherever in the crowd will be able to get a nice shot where it actually looks decent, right?
That's 100% it. I mean, impact, right? Like what's going to get more reach? I think a lot of folks that want to optimize for the live event experience will be like, okay, we're going to have the strobes at 100, we're going to have the lights at 100. And really that leads to like when people are taking out their videos, everything's super blown out. But
Mm.
when we work on shows and we really dialing them in, we want them to be so competitive. Like Possible focuses on how do we make that Getty Images moment? How do we make that thing that's going to look really crisp? Now, how can we empower the most amount of people to be able to capture that? And so we literally set up iPhones all around the arena. And as people are rehearsing, we dial them in with light meters and stuff. Like we really make sure that like, yes, this is a bright white light, but like it's within the dynamic range that a phone can capture. And so that's a little technical thing, but like that's one of the things that makes your art look a lot better than, somebody who isn't taking that much care to
Right.
make sure it's all dialed in.
Right, because your art isn't just being seen by the people in that arena or stadium or show, it's being seen by the people watching people film on their phones and
And those people might want to buy a ticket to go to your show,
right.
right?
Right, like
So that's when I'm talking about impact. It's like, yes, there's impact for the people in the room, but what about all the phones that are, disseminating this and proliferating all of those images? You want to make sure those are super high quality.
mhm.
So it's like, what's your strategy as you go and you're creating art, you're disseminating it?
I love that, dude. I love that. Tell me about, Ariana Grande. I know
Yeah.
you work with Ariana Grande on her Sweetener tour, correct?
Yes, yes. Still before crypto, when I was doing, a lot of stage stuff, was working with Ariana. She's really great. She's one of my favorites. She has a really specific image of what she wants in mind. And, super happy to help her get to that. I think she's like truly one of like the talents of this generation. And
100%.
a lot of the stuff, she's very opinionated and down to like what types of light she wants on her shows, what types of, like, projectors she wants on her shows, like, very dialed in because she's done, like, multiple world tours. So, when we're coming up with those, we're also, like, pulling references, not from any other kinda show, but, like, when we were working on Sweetener tour, it was all about, like, James Turrell. It was pulling,
Ooh.
same kind of, like, tricks that you would do in, like, getting a cool look at a music video, but applying it to the live event space. And that whole team was really great. She's got great creative directors in Brian and Scott Nicholson, and, she herself is just, like, unbelievably talented.
Yeah, what kind of feedback did she provide for her live shows? Like, was it like you said, it was down to the light, but would it be something where she kind of laid out her vision and then you'd kinda execute, or did you come to the table with ideas and she's like, switch out this light,
A
switch,"
little bit of both, yeah,
Okay.
a little bit of both. I mean, I think for some things, there's, like, a very clear idea in place that you can just go to execute, and then others are, like, newer songs, newer ideas.
Mhm.
Or there's, like, a music video. Is there some jumping off point there, or do you wanna actually, like, lean into the music video? Like, do you wanna make the music video appear on the stage, or do you wanna try something completely different? And so it's kind of a hodgepodge depending on, like, also the flow of the concert, because the concert itself is like a piece of art, right? Like, you wanna
Mhm.
make sure there's big moments and low moments. So, um, she was very good at making sure that it was an extension of her identity, her brand, and the whole thing was cohesive. I thought very thoughtful about the integrity of the show.
Thank you. Next. You did that right.
Worked on that song, yeah.
You incorporated Hannah, who directed the videos. Shout out to Hannah. Um, and you told me that she helped with the live component, right?
Yeah.
And that's so cool to me because 'cause I'm a director and I like, there have been instances where I've done collaborations for live shows as well, but I'd love for you to explain the collaboration for Thank You Next and how you were able to
Okay.
incorporate, like, a music video aspect to it, you know?
Oh, sure, yeah. So a lot of the music videos that Ariana was doing at the time were directed by a really great director named Hannah Lux Davis.
Shout out to Hannah.
And, her and the folks at London Alley, they're all really great at what they do. And so when it came time to do visuals on the stage, we still wanted to capture that kind of, like, cinematic sensibility, and doesn't it just make sense to, like, work with the people who are developing that language? And so she was gracious enough to, basically put together a shoot and create a lot of elements that we got to use on stage.
Mhm.
And I think whenever you can do that kind of stuff, it definitely sets, like, the identity of the show apart from other shows.
Yeah, because it's captured in such a cool way, right? And
Yeah,
it's genuinely, like, extremely beautifully crafted visuals that like, it's not just CGI, right? It's,
yeah,
like, blending a little bit of reality, even
right,
fantasy together.
exactly. Yeah, there could be this, like, surreal aspect to it, and you're also, like, acknowledging the architecture of the stage, like, different features on it. So you're realizing that this isn't just going to be on somebody's phone or somebody's television screen. This is going to show up in, like, an arena presentation
Mhm.
on, like, a sphere. So you have to, like, take those ingredients and make sure that the idea is compatible with that.
Got it. I saw you worked with Justin Bieber as well.
Yep.
What did you do with Bieber?
Same thing, like a lot of concert visuals. So Nick Demora, his longtime creative director
Oh, yeah,
and
Nick's sweet.
choreographer, brought me in on that. And I've been working with Nick since like 2015, probably. So, worked with Justin on Purpose Tour, and then again, like, we've looking after a lot of those shows. Um, Still brought, did a shoot for that one, did some projection on that one. It was a really great tour, but, a lot of those looks were, like, more architectural, and Nick is he's got a great eye for dance and how that works together with content. So we had a lot of stuff that was very tightly choreographed with lighting and pyro and, you know, video and all the elements that make a spectacle a spectacle. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. I love to see that's literally you're literally talking about a music video right now to me. You
Yeah.
have a choreographer, you have
It's
dancers,
just
you have
live.
lights. It's just
Yeah.
live. It's like a live music
Yeah.
video,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? That's so it's so applicable, and it just goes to show the skills, like you said, transfer over, right?
Well, yeah, and that's why it's okay if you're a music video director and you're like, "Cool, I'm, like, full schedule, I'm kind of, like, top of my game right now, what do I do?" I'm like, "Well, I think, like, live performances on stage are an extension of that."
Mhm.
And, there have actually been a bunch of partners reaching out to us, like, directors that reach out to us that are like, "Hey, I work with these artists, like, I also wanna help them enter, like, the live event portion." So we're able to help with that bridge.
Mhm.
We work with and plug into a lot of those folks and help them develop the thinking around what it takes to make that happen in a live event situation.
Yeah, that's awesome. I work with Shensia, like an amazing dance hall artist, and she was at Coachella 2 years ago, so I designed her stage and her set and did the live
Nice.
visuals for that. That was a fun experience. We did,
Yeah.
like, content on the LED walls. We built her, like, a giant inflatable dragon. It was
Yeah.
insane, like a 20.
Everybody needs a team.
Yeah, man, it was really cool. And then I did some stuff with Tyga a few years back for, like, some of his live shows, which was really cool too.
Yeah.
So, but the skills, it everything translated really well, and it was a very fun. I actually really like live. I would love to do more,
Yeah.
I think it's fun. Um, but yeah, aside from the music stuff, I was digging deeper and I'm like, okay, this guy's also done the Super Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
tell me, you've done 2 Super Bowls, right?
Yeah. Did 2 Super Bowl halftime shows. It's 53 and 54, I think.
And who were performing at those?
So the first one was, like, Maroon 5, Travis Scott, and Big Boy. It was in Atlanta.
Oh yeah, Big Boy.
Yeah, Big Boy. Um, and then 54, it was J-Lo and Shakira.
Shakira. Oh, you
Yeah,
did that
in
show?
Miami. That was February 2020, and I remember being backstage being like, "Okay, cool, we're dialing in the show," and hearing the reports of, like, COVID, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And then that's one of those weird, surreal because I was, like, in a stadium setting, and then less than a month later, it's, like, lockdown.
That's
Yeah,
insane, dude.
crazy.
That's insane. And what kind of environment are you in when you're doing a Super Bowl halftime show? Is it stressful? Is it fast paced?
Yeah, so, like, all of football, like the NFL, it's designed around broadcast.
Mhm.
Like, all of the breaks that they have, it's all so that they could sell the commercials, which are very expensive because, like, everything's expensive. I actually think football is, like, one of the greatest American exports. Like, it's one of the greatest American products.
Mhm.
Um, so the whole show, like, the whole game has a team that runs, like, every football game, right? When you wanna do something like Super Bowl halftime show, that's a whole separate team. That's a whole separate base camp,
Okay.
and it's very involved.
Wow.
So it's a little city that they pop up, and the rules of engagement are really, like, they're pretty clear. Like, you once halftime hits, you have a certain amount of time to get the stage on and loaded before, like, we're out of commercials, we're out of that, and then boom, we're into the performance. You do the performance, and then you've gotta strike the whole stage during another commercial break so that, they can get back to gameplay, and you can't, like, mess with the field or anything, you can't mess it up. But also, in spite of that constraint, the expectations are super high because you
Heck yeah.
always that's superlative use. "Oh, it's the Super Bowl of,"
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's the Super Bowl of bowling, it's the Super Bowl like, the
Yeah.
Super Bowl is the thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, Bruce Rogers is production designer on that, and Ricky Kirshner, um, brought me in. He was the showrunner on the Super Bowl halftime show, and, they've been doing it for years and are very experienced about how to, like, do that stuff, but as more technology gets integrated into shows like that, you need to bring in subject matter experts who can handle, like, those components of it as well. And so, yeah, we were like, it was an honor to, like, be involved with a couple Super Bowls, see how it goes down, and, um, I think that those are truly, like, becoming more and more common in a way,
What is?
like, wanting to do these high performance spectacles to get a
Oh,
lot of attention.
yeah.
Like, somebody will have a show and they'll say, like, "I wanna do an opening ceremonies," or, "I have a show, I wanna do something like the Super Bowl halftime show."
Got it. Got it,
And you
got it.
take it for granted, it's like, well, it's just this thing. It's like, it wasn't always this thing, like, they've done 53 of them, 54 of them, now they've done, much more. But it's like, you have to see where those opportunities are. So a lot of the work that we're doing in Riyadh too, it's like opening ceremonies for a boxing match or something like that, you know?
Dude, Riyadh is going crazy right now. Saudi Arabia, so what I've learned is like a lot of that region is controlled by really like younger people. And so they're seeing the impact of culture and using that as an opportunity to take a lot of the culture even from here or around the world and host events there, right? So they'll have like giant events. I heard about a festival. You might know the name of it. It happens every year now. It's very
Middle Beast is probably the
is that
name
what it
of
is?
it.
Middle
Yeah,
Beast?
so you work on that trip too,
Huge. You
yeah.
worked on, dude. I
Yeah.
saw videos. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
Like this is in
it's like
Saudi Arabia.
bigger than EDC. It's
It's
huge. Well, I think a lot
crazy.
of you say younger generation, I think a lot of the folks in that region, I spent a lot of time there last year. Um, folks in that region, and I don't just mean Saudi, I mean like Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, like they realize that they're fortunate to be on this resource that can provide a lot for their country or their region, but the resource is finite. And so they're wise enough to be like, we have to diversify now, like immediately. And they do that through a lot of investment in architecture, entertainment, sports.
So you're saying by resource you mean oil, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Oil is finite. Let's find other ways to
Yeah.
create like
Yeah. It's like
ways.
oil, I think, in Doha, it's like natural gas, but like fossil fuels,
Fossil fuels.
essentially.
Correct. Yeah. So you're saying now they're trying to find ways to diversify the economy and get it to
Yeah.
boom. That's why there's so many new developments and all these events and whatnot. That makes sense. But you know what's crazy is like even the industry for us, like a lot of things are moving to the Middle East. It's so crazy.
Yep.
It's booming over there.
It's true. I mean, I think that's another way to look at like what's adjacent opportunity, like the same thing that you were doing here at a very high level. Like there are people around the world who would want to get that done too. One of the early days Impossible, we were one of the first groups to go out when Live Nation Korea was forming. And there's a group called Big Bang, which is like a huge boy
Yacht.
band group. Yeah, from YG Entertainment.
Huge.
And so we were the first Live Nation show, and it was Big Bang. And, they wanted to do it right. They wanted to like learn the practice that would like make this the best show possible. And so I've seen that time and time again. There's just like different regions of the world where like there's a demand for wanting to make culture and export, but first it has to be an import so that they could really get good at it.
Yeah, I see. That makes sense. There's so many opportunities around the world. It's good to, as a creative, it's good to not box yourself into just your region. And now
Yeah.
with technology and everything, we can do anything everywhere.
Yep.
Remotely even, But this kind of just leads me to my next point or my next topic, which is really about crypto, because I don't understand how you transition from entertainment to crypto. It is a whole different landscape, a whole
Very
different
different,
industry.
yeah.
Like, what made you first, I guess, why did you transition over to crypto and how? You know?
Yeah, so one of the guys who, when I was first learning 3D animation, I was meeting people online, hiring people online. One of the guys was a guy named Beeple, and he's like very popular digital artist now.
Beeple crap on Instagram, right?
That's him, yes. He's his name is Mike Winkleman. He's a good friend of mine, but we've worked together for, man, it must be like 15 years now. And he had a really big moment in 2020 when he just like really took off in the NFT scene.
He got rich. He got rich, my
We
friend.
did very well.
He sold his NFTs, right?
Yeah.
For what, over 50 million?
I think the really famous one in March of 2021 was 69 million. Yeah.
69.
Yeah, and then like a month later there was another 15 million or something. He did very well. But he's another guy who like aggressively reinvested it back into himself. Like he actually has a really cool 50,000 square foot facility in Charleston, South Carolina that he throws events at. And if you ever get the chance, like I recommend anybody listening to this, like you got to figure out how to get to one of those events.
Well, you tell me, man.
Yeah, he throws them, at least once a month, once every 2 months. But it is truly like a Willy Wonka type situation.
What?
Of making like really cool tech art, like just art that's very interesting, and trying to figure out how to not just be on the internet, but like how to make sculptures and stuff. So he's actually just taking a lot of the stuff that we were doing, in live events and like kind of like packaging it in such a way that is very compelling for art collectors that would want to collect really cool pieces of art for, their home, their office, their studio, stuff like that. So he basically had this ascent, and I wound up co-founding a company with him during that time called We Knew.
But was he working with you on the live shows?
Yeah.
So Beeple and you were doing the live stuff.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, he was posting his digital art online.
Correct.
And then you and him partnered up to create a new company called We Knew.
Correct.
And yeah, go ahead. Explain what that was.
So that was a company, and there were a couple other founders too. There's Tim Smith, who manages Zed, and then Guy Osiri, who manages Madonna, Chili Peppers. And what we did was we saw NBA Top Shot, which was a really cool thing about like trading cards. But what if they were like time-based trading cards? So like LeBron's dunk.
Yeah, you could buy moments in the NBA.
You could buy moments in the NBA. And we're like, that seems so narrow. What if you could just buy moments
in life?
Period, in life. Like, imagine the Michael Jackson moonwalk. What if we could get the estate to like license it and you make 1,000 editions of the moonwalk and that's all there is? So it's like, what really makes something valuable? Anyway, this is like, as you could tell, I'm really curious about a lot of things, and
yeah,
I just think approaching creative in like a industry agnostic way is probably like the most fun you can have when you're doing creative stuff. And so that's kind of what I saw developing in crypto, and I didn't really understand it at first. I'd gotten into Bitcoin like pretty early on, but I didn't understand the mechanics of like this new wave of crypto. And so we created this company, and it did pretty well. This idea that I'm telling you about, the moments thing, it actually didn't pan out.
So what did you do at We Knew, at your company?
Well, like what was my role, or
what did you do if you said it didn't pan out? Were you not doing that?
Yeah, it's really tricky. So Possible was my stab at doing, this is really crazy because like back, if you talk to, at the very beginning when I was a PA at this company, I actually wasn't from an entrepreneurial background.
Okay.
Didn't really have that, didn't want to make my own company, but
I don't believe it at all.
I didn't. I think I would still be working at that company if I had just figured out some way that I could learn 3D animation on the job. Like, it's just that there was no path for me to learn, so I had to leave. And that's something that I think about now at Possible. Like, we give stipends for people to be able to take time and learn what they want to learn, because I think like that was so impactful to me. It's like I had to actually leave my job because I couldn't learn on the job.
What?
But even doing Possible, like there's so many times when you have a business where it's like, we do really great at Possible, but like if you haven't been an entrepreneur, you have not really been through the tough moments where you're like chewing glass and staring into the abyss.
Yeah.
Like it can get very hard if you're like trying to be self-made in America. It's just very difficult.
It's freaking tough, dude.
And everybody talks about the Forbes 30 under 30, and like we kind of like fetish aside like, oh, this is going to be like, you're going to be the next, I don't know, Zuckerberg or something.
Yeah,
and
Steve
like,
Jobs, Zuckerberg, whatever.
Yeah. And even like shows like Shark Tank really like amplify that type of entrepreneurial theater.
Yeah, it's all theater. You're so right. Entrepreneurship is so glorified.
It is, but they don't talk, and it's because it's not fun. It's not fun to talk about how like, cool, you got to make ends meet, and like you got to move cash around the right, and it's tough. But so I know enough about Possible that like that's a hard thing to do. So to start another business is a really tricky thing, but this is different. Possible's a bootstrap business. There's no investors. Never taken outside money.
Good.
But We Knew was venture capital. Like there's a lot of interest that was going into like the stuff Beeple was doing that you have to, especially the idea was really good. Like you get moments and you can like tokenize them, and you've got, the comp of Top Shot doing really well. For reference, like Top Shot was making hundreds of millions of dollars, right?
Selling NFTs, right?
NFTs, collectibles. And, I think there's a lot of people who, if they have money, they would want to invest into something like that. So we went out to market. And the thing with venture capital is it works very different from a bootstrap company. Bootstrap company is like, I have a job, I have to spend less than I earn so that I can live.
Yeah.
Right? If you spend more than you earn, you're dead. in venture capital, you focus on growth above all else.
Right. How fast can I grow?
How fast can I scale this thing and grow? And the month-to-month economics are not as important as growth, right? Because you could always optimize for other things later, but you need to just grow. And that was a very new process for me to be like, oh, so you could be in the red for a couple of months here, and that's very normal.
Yeah.
It's a very big adjustment. And then the other thing is opportunity cost. You can't go after ideas where you make a 15 or 20% margin. You know, a lot of service companies, you're doing 15, 20% markup,
Yep.
and like that's what you make. You need to be in venture capital coming up with ideas that are going to 10x, that are like going to make 1,000% of your money back. You know what I mean? And if it's not going to make 1,000% of your money back, it's not worth the time that you spend when you're losing all these money these months, right?
Right.
Like most venture capital companies, you could lose money for a year, but then once you get going, you can convert
Fast. Yeah.
fast. So we wound up doing that idea, but that idea got stuck. And, you know, I was trying to get somebody to work with me. And in my old life, I had like a long list, I had like a waiting list of people that wanted to work with me. But here in crypto, like nobody knew who I was. I was a new person. And so in my frustration, I tried this other idea, and this other idea like actually really took off. And I'm still very proud of it, still working on it. But that's one of the reasons why the biggest company in the game looked at us and wanted to buy us.
What was your idea that worked?
I'd have to really get into the weeds on crypto, which I'm happy to do. I'll try to like boil it down, but
Yeah.
basically like one of the things, okay, I'll start with philosophy first. There's this guy who writes essays. His name's Kevin Kelly,
Okay.
and he writes really smart shit. And so what he says, he wrote this one essay called 1,000 True Fans.
Okay.
And it's this idea that the internet was made as the ultimate marketplace between people who want content and people who make content.
Okay.
So when you really think about like an artist or an actor or, you know, like people who make art, they can make a living if they have enough fans.
Correct.
Right. And that's because record labels need their cut. Like all these people need their cut of the thing, and this is what they get. So they need a lot of fans.
Yes.
But the idea with the internet is like, it's kind of like the most optimized market where like you actually kind of only need 1,000 true fans
I've heard this before. Yeah.
to make ends meet. These are people that like, they are so in love with the stuff that you put out that they'll go, if you're like doing a show in LA, they'll drive to LA, they'll buy the t-shirt, they'll buy the CD, they'll buy, you know what I mean? Like they'll buy everything to support you. And those people are rare, but you have to find your 1,000 true fans.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that crypto does really well, is it connects people to find their like projects with their 1,000 true fans.
Okay.
And
That makes
so
sense.
the project that I did was basically, it took these characters and you could make accessories for these characters. I'm trying to keep it baby food here, but basically like
Yeah.
there were things called profile pictures. So like one of them is a Bored Ape Yacht Club. That's one that I'm very involved in. And there's 10,000 pictures, and there are all these different permutations of the pictures, but they're collectibles. And they're your key to a club, but also like it's just a profile picture. So if you look on Twitter, people would put Bored Apes as their profile picture. And if you had that, you would know like, okay, that person knows like this much about crypto. Like they're really involved because
Got it.
everybody who rocks a profile picture of that is like in the club.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a themed profile picture.
Okay.
Well, there are a lot of copycats that started appearing. And what our project wound up doing was offering accessories to all of these profile pictures. So you could put them on shoes, you could put them on hats, you could put them on
Okay.
socks and stuff. So it's like digital apparel. And not only that, but it was like attached to a story. And the story came out every week. So every Thursday, we would actually put out a new piece of the story. And you would use your objects that you bought, your NFTs, to further advance the story.
Okay, I see.
This is like a weekly Broadway show. I know it's a lot,
Yeah,
but,
trying to figure it out here.
it's a lot of stuff. So that project actually took off really hard and found, like, a really big community that was passionate about it, and I wound up doing, like, collaboration with Gucci so that I could take, like, Gucci's runway clothes and put them on these same
Fire.
characters.
So sorry to cut you off, but you made so they were NFTs at the time. This is during the NFT boom, right?
Yep,
Like what was that, 2021 or
yep,
something? And NFTs were a thing. And
yep.
NFTs, can you just real quick explain what NFT is? Like,
Yeah, an NFT is basically a token that you
okay.
can't duplicate.
But it's like can be in the form of an image, right?
It can
Essentially.
be anything that you can attach for tokens. So it could be an image, it could be a video, it could be a song,
Got it.
something you can't duplicate.
Got it. So just so I'm understanding this, you were working with NFTs that existed, and then you would create clothing for those NFTs.
Correct.
And were your clothes also NFTs?
Correct.
So you people would essentially get your NFT as a clothing item, and then they put it on another NFT.
Correct.
And so they have two NFTs, but it was like
Yep.
curated by yours. And then you did a collaboration with Gucci, who then made their own NFTs through you as well.
Correct.
So like a Gucci hat or Gucci flip flops would also be
You got
NFTs.
it.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Continue.
So what you're describing now is a concept called composability.
Okay.
And this is one of the big things about blockchain is that like because these tokens are standardized, like you can actually permissionlessly interact with all of them. You could combine them in different ways.
How many people were doing this? Was there like a diehard? Was it like that? Did you have the 1,000 fans? Is that what it
The
was?
project was called 10KTF. Like, and so it's 10,000 true fans because we were looking around like, where are all the true fans in Web3? And I think like anywhere you go, even with this podcast, right? It's like, where are all the true fans of like this content?
We're the true fans, man. Where you at?
Yeah,
I don't know if I have 10,000 yet, but you know.
you get there. You only need 1,000.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, I think it's such a leap for people to be like, how did you go from like such like this deeply creative background into crypto and NFTs too? And I have a lot of artist friends that like maybe have some level of skepticism or like they don't understand what it is. It's hard to grok. But the same way that I think working on a movie or working on a theme park or working on a museum or working on a tour or working on the blockchain.
Yeah.
These are all just different canvases for creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I would encourage anybody who's curious to not get too hung up on the fact that it's in a delivery mechanism that you don't recognize. Really more like investigate like what's the upside of getting involved in some of this stuff. Like what can you do now that you couldn't do before? I love like Bezos, right? Like when he first starts Amazon, he's like, what's an idea what you could do on the internet now that you couldn't do before? It's like, what if you could start a bookstore? But it's so big that it has every book ever made. You couldn't have that before because a bookstore could only hold as many books as a bookstore could hold. And so like conceptually, the idea of Amazon's so interesting for the internet because it's like, oh yeah, you could conceptually now have a bookstore that holds every book in existence.
Correct.
And so what does blockchain now enable you to do that you couldn't do before?
So
and how do things like films and spots and music videos and content, how do those add to that type of an ecosystem?
I see. I'm trying to make sense of it because I've struggled a lot with even NFTs, and I know we don't really talk about them in 2025 anymore.
Yeah.
But I remember at the time with NFTs, there were things about people trying to make albums as NFTs, where someone could buy your album and then I guess could someone buy it off them, but then you'd get a cut of that or something like that, right?
I think there's a lot of ideas like that.
Yeah.
My take on all of that is like, look, if you can't explain it in common sense, then it's probably not going to work. Like I had a lot of people coming up to me in 21, 22 being like, oh, I have like this gum that this artist chewed once. Like, does somebody want to pay me 20 grand for it? It's like, no, who would want to pay you 20 grand? Like,
Right.
there's no value offering there,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But why would a baseball card be worth more than another baseball card? They're just ink on cardboard.
Yeah, it's just ink on cardboard, yeah.
So why is a Mickey Mantle first edition worth more?
We place value on it, right? Like we create the value based on who's attached to it, what their accolades are, right? Essentially.
I think so. I mean, but I think like that type of aura creation is what we try to do with music videos too. Why is one music video better than the other? They both have a runtime of 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The song attached to it, the concept attached to it. Like, so this goes back to like film school stuff, but like Walter Benjamin's aura. Like, how do you create aura around art pieces? It's a scarcity. Like there are definitely ways that you can create aura that have been formally studied, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we try to do in the world of NFTs. And there's still like a pretty deep community that does it. I just don't think it's as frothy as it was in 21 and 22. But
Yeah.
this is the thing about crypto. You have to pay attention to it because it comes around every 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it started 2010, and then you hear about 2013, 14, you hear about it again in 17 and 18, and you hear about it in 21, 22. And it's coming around again.
Yeah.
And it feels like this thing in the past, but each time it comes around, there's more and more like conduits for attention that have already been laid out by the previous time. And, each cycle it's come up, I've been like, I should be getting into crypto. And the last time it happened, I was like, I'm going to get into it this time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I felt about the last bull run. I was like, I'm going to buy some Solana. I'm going to get a little more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And here we are today. It's almost back at 100,000 almost. I guess it's like hovering around there.
Yep.
Well, 2 questions. One, is the NFT hype over or is it just getting started?
No, I think it's going to come back. It's going to rhyme in this next cycle with something else.
Got it. So the NFTs will be around, but it might be in a slightly different shape or form, or some things will come back to life, or
I don't be shocked if it comes back around and it's branded something different.
like it's not called NFTs?
Non-fungible token. Like you're already seeing people with like digital assets, with like Pokemon doing stuff. Like you're already seeing people trying new vocabulary out. But the underlying thing is like, can you tokenize anything and have the transfer of ownership just be tokenized?
Got it.
So I really think that in the next big growth spurt, which is, the cycle's right around the corner.
It's due.
We are going to see a new wave of consumer crypto. We're going to see a new wave of invisible interest that won't be as complicated, will be way more simple, and it's going to hide the wires.
What do you mean by that? By hide the wires?
So before it was like you got to have your MetaMask wallet, you have your public key, your private key. There's like all of this jargon associated with it.
Yeah.
All of that's going to become sign in with your Gmail.
Oh.
You're going to have a wallet that just opens up for you if you want to export the private key, do whatever crypto stuff you want to, but you're not even going to know it's crypto.
Oh.
In fact, the next wave of apps will probably not even talk about crypto. They'll just be powered by blockchain.
Oh. How is that? How does that work?
It seems foreign, but like we've seen this with like Friendster and MySpace and then Facebook. Like there's different ways that people try to crack through at solving those problems. That was like social networks. And I think digital ownership is a big one that people are going to take a swing at. Last time I think that, crypto has crypto libertarianism, like this idea that you should self-custody your money, that in the next iteration of whatever government there is, that money will be a consideration in the Constitution.
Right.
Or will explicitly be not because we'll go to pure digital currency. Like all of that stuff is really at the core of crypto philosophy, but I think it's not as relatable as like just making my life easier. Like everybody just wants something that makes their life easier.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of things that blockchain can do that people haven't been able to recognize yet, but it's going to capture value towards them. Like for creators, for artists, as you build your platform, like even this podcast, like as you build your followers, like those aren't your followers. Those are like Spotify's followers and Instagram's followers. You work for their network.
Right.
Right? If they change a rule on you, if they change the algorithm on you, like too bad.
You're right.
All the advertising dollars go to them. And so there hasn't really been the problem with the Kevin Kelly essay is that a lot of the internet got centralized, and we didn't even realize it. 80% of the traffic on the internet goes through 5 companies, right? And they all have a take rate. They all, develop a
Google,
system.
Meta.
Sure, but they all
Seven.
take some amount of money out of the ecosystem that they've developed, and it enriches them. And I think the promise of Web3 is that there will be systems that are decentralized on public ledgers that will allow more value accrual back to the artists making the content in the first place. You won't need to rely on centralized rails. You'll be on decentralized rails. So that's what I think the shade of the next cycle will look like. And that's a really big reason why I think putting my time there has been so rewarding.
Yeah, you're really future-proofing yourself here, right?
Well, yeah, I think it's just a really interesting frontier to work on too. It's like working on the early internet kind of a thing.
Do you think, going back to Beeple, shout out to Beeple, by the way,
Yeah.
super, super awesome artist. Do you think, his $69 million drop helped the space, or did it almost put too much pressure on what would come next?
I think it helped the space a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that brings so much attention to like what people can do. It made so many artists think like maybe I should try to strike out on my own instead of having to do it. It made so much movement in the space. I think it did a lot for the space, and it was an auction, so there's 2 people at least who got it to that price, right? I think it's a really important moment in the space and in art.
Yeah. That's a fair point. There's now a lot of AI. We talked about it just a little bit here, but now AI is kind of shaping, how the world's operating. It's shaping careers. It's shaping creativity. I guess in your opinion, especially because you're on the forefront of the new internet that's forming, do you think AI is a tool? Is it a threat? Is it just the new standard? Like,
You got to use it. I mean, when I was learning 3D animation, it was like, if you want to learn how to animate, you set your start keyframe and your end keyframe, and the computer is just going to like interpolate between. It's going to make all the in-between frames.
Yep.
And prior to that in animation, there was whole teams of people that were in-betweeners. Like there were keyframers and in-betweeners. And they would just draw it. They have to draw so the keyframers put the motion down, but then there were union teams of people that were like drawing all the in-between frames. That job pretty much didn't exist anymore by the time I started to learn animation, right? And I think the more you try to fight AI, the more you're trying to like hold on to like in-betweening as a thing, as an example, right? Like I think number one, we need to so the Studio Ghibli thing that happened.
dude.
ChatGPT comes out with that and everybody like Ghiblifies everything. I 100% think that ChatGPT owes Studio Ghibli a bunch of money because every time I did it, I use the word Ghibli in there to get that result. Like, I think ChatGPT should be paying some sort of money to Ghibli in that, and I hope Ghibli turns into a multi-billion-dollar company for that. And I just think like artists who create all of like this IP that is being used in these models, like they should be compensated for that use, especially if it's like really specific. And honestly, I think that's one of the next narratives that's going to show up in crypto, because crypto is one of those things that could track the IP usage as it goes through these models. AI is a really big one too, because an AI bot, it can't open a bank account, but it can have a crypto wallet. So I think a lot of the bots and agents that we're going to see are going to be powered by crypto.
You're currently at Yuga Labs.
Yes.
What are you doing now at Yuga Labs? And for those who don't know, Yuga Labs started the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right?
That's right.
And that's still their biggest IP. Am I correct on that?
That's right. Yep.
What other projects have they been a part of?
So Yuga Labs founded the Bored Ape Yacht Club, but it owns CryptoPunks.
CryptoPunks was the OG, right? The first
OG by Larva Labs. It created many other projects too. One of them is Otherside, which is like metaverse project. I
Yep.
work on that one a lot.
Okay.
That's coming out this year. So
Okay.
that's going to be a big one. And, I think Yuga is very accessible because it just focuses on like, how do you make crypto fun? If you spend time in crypto, a lot of it's just like financialization. Like, how do you do financial stuff on the blockchain? But Yuga is really one of the very few companies that broke through that had everyday people talking about how fun it is to collect things again. So we're always trying to get people to get back to that kind of a state.
Yeah, I see. Do you think a lot of people misunderstand what Yuga Labs is trying to do or trying to build?
Maybe. I think if they're curious, there's a lot of entry points.
Yeah.
There's a lot of community members that are like, it's the Bored Ape Yacht Club is the best club on the internet,
Right.
period.
Is it
And so,
still active?
oh yeah, yeah, it's huge. So we hold Ape Fest every year. And last year we had it in Lisbon in October. We took over Lisbon, the whole city. And there were about 3,000 apes that came out to
Wow.
just spend time in the city. So it's still
2008.
very active. Yeah, still very active. And we do, pretty regular regional meetups for things. So
Really? How often?
I did one in January. I just did a dinner. But
Nice.
we've got Ape Fest. We just announced it's going to be in Vegas this year.
Cool.
So we're doing it in Vegas. Before that, we did it in Hong Kong. Before that, it was in New York. So
Yeah.
we've been kind of like everywhere with it. But yeah, I mean, more than that, it's also like a decentralized club, right? So it is the best club on the internet. Your ticket to get into the club, your key to the club is owning a Bored Ape or a mutant ape. So if you want to tap into a network of like really like-minded people, that's the best way to do it.
So it's not too late to be a part of Bored Ape Yacht Club?
No, no, not at all.
You don't think that Bored Ape peaked too soon or anything?
No, I think in the next cycle of digital assets, you're going to see like, you have to remember CryptoPunks were free. Bored Apes were originally sold for $280 a piece.
Nuts.
And these assets are like any kind of high-end collectible, like Rolex watches or Audemars or whatever. Like the limited supply of them makes them very desirable,
Yes.
and their provenance, their legacy makes them something that's coveted by collectors.
I
So
see.
still to this day, like you can't get a Bored Ape without tens of thousands of dollars. Like
Mhm.
they're still very expensive.
Yeah. They are very expensive. And you said there's 10,000 or 1,000 of them?
There's 10,000 Bored Apes. There's 20,000 mutant apes.
Okay. And is a mutant ape considered a Bored Ape or no?
One ape equals one ape, so like they're all equal in our eyes, but they tend to, because there's more of them, there's a scarcity place. If you're looking specifically at the economics, the mutants usually trade for like 1/5 the price of a Bored Ape.
If I own a mutant ape, can I get into the events?
Yes.
Let's go.
That's it,
You
man.
combine with Ethereum, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I guess with that being said, like what is next for Yuga Labs?
Well, we're building on a block. So Ethereum is one main blockchain,
Mhm.
but there's other chains building on top of that. And the one that we operate, we released it at Lisbon last year. It's called Ape Chain.
Ape Chain.
And it's a scaling solution, but basically it makes it so that transactions they settle in less than a fraction of a second, and they cost a fraction of a penny.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, we're trying to get it to a point where it's like basically on par with like how much it would cost to swipe a credit card,
Wow.
right? To run a transaction.
Yeah.
So these are scaling solutions, and all of that's been happening since the 2021,
Mhm.
2022. So all this infrastructure gets built for this next thing to happen.
Dude, that's exciting, bro. It seems like you're just getting started then.
Getting started, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, before this conversation, I thought NFTs were dead. I thought NFTs were over. I didn't know what the status of Bored Ape was because a lot of it's about perception. A
Right.
lot of it's about what's the zeitgeist, what's hot, what are people talking about? And there's just certain things.
Well, people used to say that about Bitcoin too.
Right.
They used
And
to say Bitcoin is dead.
yeah,
And it's like, how dead does it look at $100,000? It looks pretty alive.
it looks pretty freaking live.
Yeah.
Looks like it just might be getting started.
And that's the thing about Bored Apes. That's the thing about any of these NFTs. Like, don't underestimate them just because you're not watching.
Yeah. That's true. You're right. I mean, the fact that you said 3,000 members showed up to your last event,
Yep.
it's a lot of people.
That's international travelers.
Yeah, you're right. Are a
Yeah.
lot of your holders international, or are they from a lot?
I mean, if you pick any city in the world, like they live all over the world, so they all got to come to that city.
Right, that's dedication.
Yeah. So
That's
people are booking international flights, bring their families out.
Wow.
And it's the kind of thing where I could go to any city in the United States
Mm.
and I could hit up the Bored Ape Yacht Club and there would be somebody that I would be able to meet up with.
I didn't think about that. Yeah,
Oh,
you have
yeah.
like a friend in every city.
Yeah, you go have a meal with anybody in the club
That's awesome, dude.
and they would get it. They would immediately get it and you'd be on the same wavelength.
Would you just like post on the community chat, "Hey guys, I'm coming
There's
to."
a number of ways to get
Okay.
in touch with it. But yeah, sure. You can just tap out like, hey, Bored Apes, I'm coming to Austin, for instance. I just did that in March. I'm coming to Austin. We had like 30 people show up to a dinner. People drove out from Houston. That's great.
Was
Yeah.
it on do you have like a Discord or something?
There's Discord. There's going to be a Telegram in a second. But even on Twitter, Twitter's the main place where it all happens.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's all on Twitter.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Join the club.
You got me convinced. I'm super bullish on crypto. You know, I think there's a future in it. I'm actually curious. Do you think Bitcoin will hit $1 million?
Yes.
Do you think it'll happen within the next 2 years?
I don't know the time span. I don't know. I can't say with conviction in the next 2 years, but here's what I think is certain. I think Bitcoin's going to become the most valuable asset in the world. Like if you look at the total addressable market of gold, for Bitcoin to surpass it, gold's number one. For Bitcoin to surpass it, it would need to exceed the price of $800,000 per coin.
Yep.
Which I think it will do. So $1 million's not that far off.
Yeah, $1 million's not that far off.
And I think you're seeing a lot more, like this is what's been happening now in the last couple of years too, while nobody's looking. There's Bitcoin ETFs that are coming out. You're talking about retirement funds.
Yeah.
Passively buying. So like everybody who works a job that has a 401k, putting a fraction of their money as buy pressure on Bitcoin. That's not being flipped and day traded, but being put into a 401k account.
Right, that's going to keep the value more stable, or at least prevent
you're
it
just taking
from
supply out of the market.
Yeah. You're taking supply out. So there will never be a world where Bitcoin goes down to 10 grand, or realistically, no, we're too deep in it.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people in the space say like do what you can to own one Bitcoin at the very least. Try to own one.
Yeah, try to own one. It'll help you retire sooner than you think. You know?
Yep.
Yeah, man. Well, guess what? I got one more thing for us.
Let's go.
Are you ready?
Let's do it. Wow.
Mr. Figge. I got something for us. So, at the very end of each episode, I like to present something to each guest. We got a deck of cards.
Yeah.
You're not going to read all of them. I just want you to find a card you like. Don't read them. Just kind of intuitively, find a card that feels right to you, whether it's the one on top, if you want to shuffle, whatever. I want you to read the question out loud and give me an answer that comes straight from your heart. It's a very wide range of questions.
Okay.
So just find one, read it, and answer.
Let's do it. Hidden talent. I played piano for 14 years and, I think there's lessons there that I've learned that extend into the work. Like I've been in situations where I feel like there's a lot of, you ever been in situations like on set or something where there's like a lot of pressure on you?
Bro, it's every day of my life.
Every day of your life. Tons of pressure. And like you can start in a world where like it's relatable. Like maybe you're spending the amount that you would normally spend on rent in an hour, like to run the set, or in a minute to run the set.
For sure.
And then at some point you could get in a situation where like you can't even fathom like how much resource is being put on this and is being relied on with you. I remember when I was practicing piano, I'd feel a lot of pressure because I'd have to perform at like, these kind of like recitals and stuff growing up. You play an instrument?
I used to play piano and then I played saxophone, but I never did it for a long time. It was like a few years piano, a few years saxophone.
Like when you get into the like, you're going to perform in front of a lot of people. Anyway, the idea behind pressure is like, as I worked on these bigger shows like the Super Bowl and stuff like that, there's a lot of pressure. But I actually think like pressure is a privilege.
Pressure's a privilege.
If you don't
It's a
feel
bar.
pressure, it means you don't really care about what you're working on, right? And I think that that's distinctly different from stress. I think that people can handle a lot of pressure, but they cannot handle a lot of stress. When you mismanage pressure, it turns into stress, right? So I always, when I'm working on stuff, I just got reminded by that question, but like when I'm working on stuff, it's really like, is this pressure or is this stress? If it's a lot of pressure, you're good. Because like if you're showing up to work and you don't feel incredible pressure, you should check yourself. Because you're probably not working on something that's that important.
Well, there's a fine line between that. Like I personally, when I experience pressure, I almost always experience stress. Like I'm trying to differentiate between the two.
Well, people have different ways of coping with that. Like that's one of the reasons why you do pre-production, right? Like you are able to like plan out your day so that when something happens, you're like, it's okay. I foresaw this. Like I'm prepared.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So like there's just pressure to execute. But like stress is like that thing on set happens and I'm not prepared for it.
Right.
And I don't know what to do now. Like that's stress.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
So I really think like pressure's a privilege and it has to be earned. And then
pressure's privilege.
Just make sure that when you're working on a problem, that it's not just stress. Because you can't handle that much of it, but you could handle like almost an infinite amount of pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love that, man. That was a great segue. So to anybody listening, learn how to play an instrument, have some recitals, have some shows, put on some concerts for your friends and your family.
Feel pressure. Pressure's a privilege.
Pressure is a privilege. That is the best takeaway I could have gotten from this episode, man. Thank you for that.
Yeah, man.
Dude, thank you for coming. That's all I got for today, man. You're awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course,
Good
man.
seeing you.
Yeah, you too, bro. We've been trying to do this for a minute now, and I appreciate you making the time. I know you're super busy. But dude, what an honor and a pleasure, man.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you for blessing us with your time. Thank you everybody for watching. Thanks to my amazing invisible crew. As you can see, it's a one-man show. But thank you all for being here. Y'all know what to do. Listen, before the next 2026 bull run, I better have 1 million subscribers on YouTube. This show needs to be huge. So please like, subscribe, help drive the engagement up a little bit, because I'm trying to get more dope people like Figge on. And if I can't grow the show, I can't get more people on like him. So please help me out. But anyways, thanks again, bro. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And most importantly, I want to give a big round of applause to ourselves. Let's go, baby. Thank you. All right, man. Thank you, Figge. That's a wrap.
Cheers.
And cut.